Chinua Achebe, whose work has been published in some 50 languages, is among the founders of contemporary Nigerian literature. Achebe, an ethnic Igbo, writes in English but alters it to reflect native Nigerian languages. He does this to develop an appreciation for African culture in those unfamiliar with it. Although he has also written poetry, short stories, and essays, both literary and political. Achebe is best known for his novels, in which he offers a close and balanced examination of contemporary Africa and the historical forces that have been shaped it. Achebe's works in biographical and historical perspective. Early life in colony pushing for its independence. Albert Chinua Lumogo Achebe was born on November 16, 1930, in the village of Ogidi in eastern Nigeria, to Janet Eliog Bunam and Achebe and Isaiah Okafor Achebe. It is time Nigeria was a British colony and Western educational and economic society. Chinua Achebe was 8 when he began to learn English and 14 when he went to Government College of Umuahia in southern Nigeria, considered one of the best schools in the West Africa. He enrolled in 1948 at University College Ibadan, Nigeria, intending to study medicine, but soon switched to English literary studies. Achebe rejected the British name Albert and took his indigenous name, Chinua, in 1948, a time of growing Nigerian nationalism and increased pressure on Great Britain to grant the colony independence. He contributed stories, essays, and sketches to the University Herald, which were later published in Girls at War and Other Stories in 1972. After graduating, Achebe taught for a year and then began a 12-year career as a producer for the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. In 1957, he went to London to attend the British Broadcasting Corporation Staff School. One of his teachers there was the British novelist and literary critic Gilbert Phelps, who recommended Things Fall Apart for publication. Achebe was appointed director of the Voice of Nigeria by the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation in 1961. The same year, on the September 10, he married Christy Chinwe Okoli. They would have 4 children. Nigerian literary renaissance can be seen in the literature of Achebe. In the work of Achebe, Things Fall Apart, 1958, is an account of colonial history from the point of view of the colonized rather than the colonizer. The perspective is African instead of Eurocentric, something highly unusual in English language literature. The novel explores the philosophical principles of an African community which is self-governing at the outset of the story. The novel was published early in the Nigerian literary renaissance. 2 years before Nigeria gained its independence from the United Kingdom in 1960. The timing of the novel's release helped ensure its success. While Nigerians looked forward with excitement and optimism to the political freedom they would attain after more than a half-century of British colonial rule, Achebe understood the need to show his countrymen the strength of their own cultures to assist in the task of nation building, a strength greatly diminished by the imposition of an alien culture. Achebe's second novel, No Longer at Ease, 1960, is set in modern Nigeria in the days immediately before independence from the British colonial rule. It reveals the changes to Nigerian society that result from foreign intervention to the extent to which things have fallen apart. The main characters' experiences testify to the oppressive weight of the doubt, guilt, and regret that the colonial experiences has created. Achebe returns to the past in The Arrow of God, 1964. He evokes a world rich in the complexities of the daily, domestic, social, political, and religious living, further complicated by the now institutionalized religious and political rules that the colonial force had introduced into Igbo society. The novel is meditation on the nature and uses of power and on the responsibility of a person who wields it. Although the consequences of the loss of predictable political power at the village level can bring personal tragedy, at the national level, the consequences are more widespread and longer lasting. It is to this latter reality that Achebe turns in his fourth novel, A Man of the People, 1966, which is set in the post colonial period in an independent African society and African country too. The governance of the country is nominally in the hands of the people, and it is the quality of the leadership and the response of the people to that leadership that concerns Achebe. Nigerian civil war and politics played a prominent, crucial, and disastrous role in the colonial period and in the post-colonial period. Now we will see that publication of A Man of the People coincided almost exactly with the first military coup d'etat in Nigeria, sparked by the ethnic tensions between differing populations in the southern and the northern part of the Nigeria. The worsening political situation led to the persecution of the Igbo people, which resulted in a series of massacres. Achebe resigned from his job with the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation after this act of violence and returned to his homeland. The eastern region declared itself an independent state called Biafra in 1967, shortly after a 30-month civil war began. Throughout the war, Achebe traveled widely on the Biafran affairs to Europe and North America. There was neither time nor inclination to write long fiction during this period. Rather, Achebe produced most of the poems in the volumes Beware, Soul Brother, and Other Poems, 1971. These things were later revised, enlarged, and republished in the United States, Christmas in Biafra and Other Poems, 1973. 13 of Achebe's short stories, collected as Girls at War and Other Stories, were published in 1972. This 1975, Achebe published a volume of 15 essays, Morning Yet on Creation Day, written between 1962 and 1973 on various literary and political subjects. In 1983, in the face of an impending federal election, he published The Trouble with Nigeria. The final chapter, The Example of Aminu Kano, comments on the equalities of the ideal leader of Nigeria in Achebe's view and praises Muslim politician Aminu Kano. Kano died before the election, and Achebe was asked to become a presidential candidate. Instead, he became Deputy National President, an honorary title. Before the election was held, however, the military intervened, resulting in a coup. It has been suggested that Achebe's words in a part prompted this action. In 1986, Achebe was awarded the Nigerian National Merit Award for the second time. In this acceptance speech, he acknowledged that literature is central in the quest to achieve the goal of creating a modern Nigeria. A later work emphasizing West African traditions, Achebe confirmed his place as a leading African novelist with the publication of Anthills of the Savannah, 1987. One of the Achebe's primary interests in the novel is the way in which Nigeria's oral tradition, devalued by European colonizers and considered inferior to the tradition of written literature in Europe, is withering. This novel is set in a fictional West African country of the Kangan, which resembles Nigeria. Achebe's aim at reclaiming the art of storytelling in a society in which oral wisdom is in danger of dying out because of the increasing development of modern technocratic society. The communal and public act of storytelling also is yielding to the private form of the printed word. Until of Swana reveals that the two distinct forms of communication can meet and assist in closing the gap between educated and uneducated, so that the story is capable of fulfilling its traditional role. In this way, Achebe seems to be suggesting that Nigeria can make economic and social progress in the modern world without abandoning its cultural heritage in favor of European models. Anthills of Swana, as well as received a and earned Achebe a nomination for the prestigious Booker Prize. Achebe's next book, Hopes and Impediments, Selected Essays, 1965-1987, it was published in 1988. It was the title of the poem, Hopes and Impediments, Selected Essays, 1965-1987. Okay, essays and speeches written over a period of 23 years is perceived in many ways to be a long logical extension of ideas in Anthills of Swana. In this collection, however, he is not addressing the way Africans view themselves, but rather how Africa is viewed by the outside world. This central theme is destructive impact of racism that is inherent to Western traditional attitudes regarding Africa. Still writing and working despite injury in 1990s, only weeks after attending the celebration for his 60th birthday, Achebe was paralyzed in an accident in Nigeria. Despite this, he has continued to publish, teach, and appear in public. He moved to United States for therapy and had lived there, a reluctant refugee, according to Uluwol Adujare in an African News Service review during a dark time of Nigerian dictatorship. At Achebe's 70th birthday celebration at Bard College, Volsoenka commented that Achebe never hesitates to lay blame for the woes of African and continent squarely where it belongs. In 2007, he was awarded the Man Booker International Prize for Fiction. His work is in literary context. Africa as an exotic place filled with unknowable people has figured prominent in European literature and in the European imagination. Achebe has distinguished himself as a writer by representing Africa from an African perspective and by pointing out the ways in which European cultural prejudices have affected not only the way African and Africa and Africans have been portrayed in literature and popular culture, but how Africa and Africans have been treated by imperial powers. The decision to write in English in order to recognize the virtues of pre-colonial Nigeria chronicle the ongoing impact of colonial on native cultures and expose present-day corruption. Achebe had to clearly communicate these concerns first to the fellow countrymen, but also to those outside of his country. Instead of his writing in his native language, Achebe judged the best channel for the message to be English, the language of colonialism. He did so because he wished to repossess the power of description from those like Joseph Conrad, Joyce Carey, and H. Rider Haggard, who had, as he said, secured an absolute power over narrative that cast Africans as beasts, savages, and idiots. Achebe views the English language not as an enemy but as a tool, reclaiming the oral tradition. Since the 1950s, Nigeria has witnessed the flourishing of a new literature which has drawn sustenance both from traditional oral literature and from the present and rapidly changing society, writes Margaret Lawrence. As she maintains, Chinua Achebe's careful and confident craftsmanship, his firm grasp of his material, and his ability to create memorable and living characters place him among the best novelists now writing in any country in the English language. Proverbs are cherished by Achebe's people as the treasure boxes of their cultural heritage. Explains and focus on values of society. Achebe's work in literary context can be seen broadly. Achebe's 5 novels to date follow some of 100 years of Igbo civilization. Europeans have not yet penetrated Umuofia, the setting of the first novel. When it begins, over the course of the novel, colonial rule is established, significant change takes place, and the character of the community, its values and freedoms are substantially and irrevocably altered. They therefore form an imagination and imaginative history of a segment of a major group of people in what eventually became Nigeria. Distorts and blocks the natural change from within and offer, and Eustace Palmer observed a powerful presentation of a beauty, strength, and validity of a traditional life and values and disruptiveness of change. Even as he resisted the roots and rootlessness vision of postmodernist globalization, Achebe does not appeal for a return to the ways of the past. Things Fall Apart in 1964. The Things Fall Apart became the first novel by an African writer to be included in the required syllabus for African secondary school students. Chinua Achebe, a Nigerian writer, father of African fiction, novelist, critic, poet, who is considered as the most dominated figure in the modern African literature, died in March 2013 at the age of 82.